Joining us to discuss the state of the economy amidst the strike is SAN President, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Emeka Obegolu. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Yes, good morning.
All right. Let's quickly just get your thoughts on, the strike action. Activities were halted at airports across the country, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Lagos, and of course the national grid has been shut down. There's no electricity across the country. The spokesperson of the TUC said, or the transmission company rather, said it was done by the NLC and the TUC. What are your thoughts on the effect of the strike so far, the industrial action in the last 24 to 48 hours? Has it been damning across the country? Do you think that it is worth it?
Well, I think everybody, the labor, the government, the organized private sector understands clearly the cost of strike. It's a cost that is almost unquantifiable. The economy has been shut down. I was supposed to be traveling out of the country this morning, but because of the uncertainty of the aviation sector strike, I had to shelve my plans and remain on ground to do other things. But this is a very avoidable scenario. The Minimum Wage Act expired sometime this year, Minimum Wage Act of 2019. These negotiations should have started way before now. Unfortunately, we have delayed it up to now, and everybody is victimized for it. Today, across the country, the national grid is shut down. Even the workers who are supposed to stay at home cannot stay at home because there's no power to stay at home. So it's unfortunate that we are here today. But the good news is that government has shown that they can work together with labor. And that sign is manifest in the agreement signed yesterday that both parties can work together to try to resolve this as quickly as possible. So we look forward to a quick resolution of this impasse to allow government to resume work, to allow the private sector to resume. We all understand clearly that there is need to increase the minimum wage. We all understand clearly the challenges, the cost of goods and services in the country today. So undisputably, the labor is right in its agitation to have a living wage. What government needs to do is to come to labor with good faith negotiation so that both parties can agree on this. And for us in the private sector, we are obligated to pay the minimum wage as prescribed by the law.
What is an agreement by government that you think would be suitable? Dave, of course, from the agreements yesterday, they're talking about above 60,000. Nobody knows exactly what that means. But what is an agreement that you think would make some sense, and labor maybe should work towards?
Unfortunately, I am unable to hear you now.
Well, I'm asking, what is a figure that you think would make some sense that labor should maybe work towards, as they try to get an agreement with the government?
Well, if you want a figure that will make some sense, it may be impracticable to pay it. We all live in Nigeria. We know the cost of living in Nigeria. If you want a figure that will make living sense, you should be looking at least minimum of about 200 to 250,000 naira. But again, labor is part of government. They know the finances of government. So we must work with a realistic figure that the government can pay. Now, both parties are interested in a sustainable government bureaucracy. That is where their interests meet. So because they know that unless the government pays what it can sustainably retain and pay over the next 5 years, there will be no need to agree on 500,000 naira as minimum wage, even though it sounds realistic, but the government cannot pay it. So that is where good faith negotiation comes in. The government has to open their books to show labor what they can pay in a sustainable manner. And if that is done, I think labor can be reasonable to accept that which reflects the paying power of government. Government will not borrow money to pay wages.
Should I possibly consider the senators, the National Assembly, because that's what a lot of Nigerians have been clamoring for, saying that they should probably review their salaries. We're not quite sure how much they earn in the first place, but there have been rumors that it's amounted to tens of millions. So do you think that maybe this is an aspect that they can look at to show that the government on its own end is particular about cutting costs, not that the people alone have to bear the brunt of the issues with the inflation?
I think if we begin to compare political office holders with civil servants, we may miss the point. We may not be comparing apples with apples and oranges with oranges. What works is to use the comparative advantage of economies such as ours. What do they pay their political of appointees or elected officers? And what do they pay their civil servants? Now, if we get those bases for comparison, we can now begin to compare. I do not think that it would be fair to compare what political office appointees earn. Even as I believe that their earnings is outrageous, I have that belief. But it shouldn't be used to benchmark what labor should demand. The two are not related. Let us deal with labor and pay labor a living wage.
All right.
Yeah. And then we'll go back to the political office holders and then look at it and know whether we can, as a country, continue to pay them what we are paying them. And if we agree that we shouldn't, and I think so, then we can revisit their own issue. So I think we should leave the issue streamlined. Let's deal with labor for now. And if labor insists, after getting their deserved wages, they can also challenge the payments to political office holders. And we'll begin to look at that. Yep. It is not sustainable, in my view, but that is for another day. What we have on board today is minimum wage. And if we deal with it without mixing issues up, we may get some traction.
All right. We thank you very much, the President, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Emeka Obegolu. Thanks for your time this morning. We, of course, will see how developments, how things develop today with Labour and the federal government and with, of course, the Nigerian populace. We'll look forward to speaking with you again. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.